Roll call?
Robert Ellis. Tony Servance. Teresa Doan.
Here.
Krista Goodrich. Gary Libby.
Here.
No Paspalakis.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. All right, we don't, normally I allow the police to come in, but we don't, I actually saw him downstairs at the meeting downstairs, so I'll just continue on with the meeting until he walks up here, okay? Which I was hoping I was able to attend both meetings, but obviously that didn't happen. Okay, item 4, old business.
Well, there are a couple of items of old business that I hate to stick it to you, Reed, but I sent you an email, wondered if we had any update from historic preservation now that Peabody is on the fast track to become a locally designated historic building. Have you gotten any response from historic preservation on the concept that we might be interested in working with them to plaque several of the major buildings in the in the National Register and local register areas? We're only eligible to do the local. It's small. It's really not an expensive plaque at all. And a member of the historic board said they really don't have much of a budget, but maybe together we could do something. I'd love to see Peabody when it is locally recognized. I'd love to see a photograph in the paper of somebody putting the plaque on the front of it. I think that would be extremely appropriate.
And I did forward your request over to Mr. Bapp, who's our staff to the historic board, and he reinforced the fact that they don't have the program, that they don't have any plans on moving forward yet with a program, but that is information that he can convey to the board.
But it's not even the program that I'm interested in. I think there never was a program. People would apply individually, and their property was reviewed by the city, and if eligible, either on the national or the local register, they applied to historic preservation and got their plaque, and they put it up themselves, and they're all over the city in historic districts. So maybe he misunderstood you. I'm not interested in a program. I think they still have the capability. I mean, there's no difference between recognizing Peabody locally and putting a plaque on it. I mean, they're the same.
Well, at this point, that intent is of what they're going to do with plaques or pay from. They don't have the budget for that at this time. So he's willing to discuss that.
Point,
yes, sir.
The budget.
Yeah.
Is there some way that the redevelopment boards have worked with other boards? I think there have been cooperative, very successful programs in the city where the two of them got together to get something done. The purchase of a park and the installation of playground equipment, things like that. I mean, are you set against it, or?
Not a set against it. Of course, I'm a proponent of the historic preservation, so I'd like to see that. Again, right now, I'm just wanted to let you know that I conveyed that for getting an answer, and I would say by the next opportunity for the Historic Preservation Board to actually have that question in front of them.
They haven't had it in front of them. That's
problem. Correct. That's correct.
They have not had it in front of them.
Right. So,
okay.
So that's the question is whether or not there's an interest there.
Okay.
And then how do they accomplish that? And I would.
We'll go from there.
Yes, sir. And if you have the opportunity, I'd encourage you to possibly participate yourself. So we're not carrying the message and maybe not getting it exactly right, what you're looking for.
Only other item I have is several meetings ago, Mrs. Ruby was here representing the Beachside Neighborhood Watch with a list of projects that she felt needed attention, and she came to us to share that information with us. There are a couple of the monuments in Breakers Park and on the boardwalk were in a terrible state of disrepair. you know if we pass that information on to maintenance or to the appropriate people? I mean,
I don't know if all of the things that were on that list were passed on to Public Works, but some of the maintenance issues were.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other old business? Okay, seeing none, I actually skipped over approval of minutes, so let me go back to that one. Approval of minutes, has everybody received a copy of the minutes for the September 15th meeting?
I'll move approval.
Okay, is there? a
I'll second that.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all right, and let the minutes reflect that Robert Ellis entered the.
May I just jump in here? Because the minutes that were, did you hand out minutes yet, Mandy?
Okay, I saw a bunch of, so do you want me to distribute these?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
what I did, and just so you
I'll get
had
three.
it, was
Thank you.
a small.
One together.
oh, she's got the other one.
That's all one. I could use one too, young lady. Thank you.
Okay.
So these are the more accurate minutes, Reed?
Yeah, the only thing that's changed in these minutes, it just was a mistake on my part, which is right at the very end of the set of minutes where we just had a, if you look at the ones that were in your packet versus what's here, that very last sentence before number 7, adjournment, we just had a cut and paste, I think, and got left in there in terms of the Mr. Libby and Mr. Ellis and what they did for seconding the motion and making the motion.
All right, then I'll move that, I withdraw my initial motion if the second is cool with it, and move that we approve the amended minutes as handed out at the meeting
All right.
dated September
15.
15th.
15.
Correct.
Agreed, or second?
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So now we'll move on to item number 5, new business.
Well, I think there are a number of items that we could look at tonight, but are we going to have a presentation, Reed, on this rezoning?
Yes, that needs to be done first.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to go to the,
Okay.
Yeah, item 5 is the rezoning.
All righty.
so we'll come back to new business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. It's ready, it should have been item 6 being the rezoning. I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's part of the new business.
Okay. Well, then we'll continue on. We'll start off with the rezoning, and then we'll continue on with new business on whatever else you want. Isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Item 5A.
All right, thank you. This is rezoning for 14 South Halifax Avenue for redevelopment Beachside Gateway Residential Mixed Use, RDB 3, DEV 2021-003. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. A request by Jessica Gao, Esquire, from Cobb Cole Law Offices, on behalf of the property owner, Morgan and Parker LLC, to rezone 0.1 plus or minus acre of land located at 14 South Halifax Avenue from redevelopment Beachside Gateway Residential Mixed Use RDB 3 and Residential Professional RP to redevelopment Beachside Gateway Residential Mixed Use RDB 3 to allow for short-term rentals. So you have in your packet the location map of this. Just south of Main Street is the location. And this is the aerial showing that, excuse me, right there. That is the aerial. So it's, as you can see, pretty close to Main Street. It's in between 2 residential structures. And then the next slide is showing you the actual zoning map. On the left side is the existing, and the proposed zoning is shown on your right, which gives you the visual that the existing situation, there's actually just a part of that zoning is in the RDB3 for that structure. And so there's some background on that I'll get to in a minute. The future land use, it's well within the riverfront lodging future land use. The pictures here show the street views. This is all from Google Maps. Saved me another trip out there, so I appreciated that. And by the way, that one on the bottom, that just shows you the proximity to the gas station over Main Street and looking across a vacant lot. So you're really close. Should be pretty loud over there right now, I think, with the motorcycles. What was that? Okay. So the project background is that there was a notice of violation that was issued back in May 19, 2020, because there was a short-term rental there, and that's what kind of precipitated this need to cause the rezoning. The DRP district.
Well, you don't mean that, Reed. You don't mean that that's what caused the rezoning.
It did not cause the rezoning. Thank you. It precipitated the interest of the property owner to try to cure the situation
Violation.
with the code violation.
Is the property owner the same property owner who owned the property in 2020?
Yes, and the applicant is here and can approach you and give you some additional information about the relationship.
Okay.
And that information. Just want to bring that to your attention. So the effort was made to get to the point where they are now, which is to seek a rezoning so that they can allow for that short-term rental. And in the meantime, they ceased any operation so that they could begin to cure the violation.
By the way, on the short-term rental that was there, I mean, we're talking about residential rental.
Yeah, it's your typical like an Airbnb type situation.
Okay. All right. Now, but if we rezone it to RDB3, it would allow for a commercial.
Yes, it's we allow the short-term accommodations there. The next slide, and in your packet, there's information regarding what RDB3 is intended to do, and in terms of the zoning itself, the short-term use is allowed, and that is there's a definition that it's within, and that's called other accommodations in the use table in the Land Development Code. And that includes these short-term rentals where you're renting or leasing to transient persons or tourists for less than 6 months. So this does not include hotels, motels, et cetera, but those are also allowed in the RDB3 district. And you may recall that when we did the E-zone plan, we showed that area for a hotel site in the Gateway zoning district.
Only if it had underwent massive rezoning, because we have to guard against spot zoning, and I'm afraid this request fills the definition of spot zoning, especially if it's between two residential units where there is no short-term.
Just to clarify, the house to the right of it is a short-term rental, and it is zoned RDB3, and it is currently a short-term rental.
If you saw that.
And this
okay.
property's half and half right now.
Is that the house to the south of it?
The house closer to Main Street.
To the north.
to the north
toward-
of it,
Towards
yeah.
Main
Okay.
Street.
Can you go back to the slide that shows the current and then future, and you'll see, okay, there you go. You'll notice that the purple is just an extension of the existing purple.
Yeah.
But also, just so you can see, that house that is just to in
To the north.
north, which is to the top of the map, that is a short-term rental.
Yep. And the house to the south of it is actually broken up with 4 separate doors, and probably you'd prefer it to be a short-term rental.
I think it's a single unit owned by a totally blind individual who's lived there his entire life.
There's 4 separate doors that are numbered. Unless I have the wrong house, I believe there's 4 separate doors that are all numbered.
Okay, well, let's move on.
All right?
Reed, before
Yes.
you go on, have you determined what percentage of property in the immediate area, let's say 200 yards, can't go west, but north, south, and east, have you determined what percentage of property does not allow short-term rental in this area?
None of them south of it would.
No, they don't.
That to the south, that's in the RP zoning district, so it doesn't allow.
Does not
To
allow.
the south,
To the east, there's a residential section. Does that allow short-term rental?
no, it does not. That'd be the same zoning that most of this parcel is.
Do you have any idea what the percentage is? Because I know we've often used percentages to either help an applicant or to stop an application.
No, I would say what's important in this case to us in planning is not a percentage, but to look at the underlying land use. When you look at the underlying land use that's in front of you there on the map, it shows you that this request is for a parcel that's right in the middle of where the land use is. Keep in mind, the future land use is that guide that tells us
Can we,
where we should be going.
can we allow Reed, can you just go ahead and do your presentation? If we
we're
could
gonna
hold
have to then come
I know,
back to-
yeah, we could have a questions after he does his presentation.
Yeah, I'm almost done here. Again, the Main Street redevelopment plan, I provide some information in your packet about the fact that this does get supported by the fact that we're trying to encourage investment in tourism, and the short-term rental is just one of the types of products for tourism that is becoming more popular in terms of a way to attract people to the area.
And controversial.
And controversial, no question. But again, overall, in the mix of tourism, it's where we can have it, and a lot of areas do allow it, and like this RDB3 district. The idea is to create strategies, according to our plan, to encourage the development of compatible residential units in the E-zone adjacent to the Surfside neighborhood for homeowner occupancy and short-term rentals, consistent with the E-zone master plan. And again, the master plan suggests that there would be further development that would promote more tourist accommodations. The neighborhood meeting was held, so that information is all in your packet.
Yeah, where is that in the packet, Reed?
Should be in the back of your packet with a letter. That is from the, at the very end, there's a summary of that neighborhood meeting. Be the last page in your report, staff report.
Okay. This is it, the letter?
Yes. No, that's not it. Should be a letter. I can give you a,
Can you run it down
This
real
is the
quick?
letter?
no,
No, it's on the Cobb Cole letterhead. It says memorandum.
Hey, let me see that real quick.
Do I even have that? Yeah, could you give us a brief summary,
Yeah.
what the feeling of the neighborhood meeting was, who attended, and
There were 3 interested citizens that attended the meeting. And there were some questions by email. And so in their summary, they noted some of the people who just had some questions about location in the zoning map, which was provided to them. The attendees indicated they believed the request was reasonable and that they were in support of Ms. Rocco's request. Ms. McKay Vaughn, she indicated that the city should define the use better and include it in more areas, that is, the short-term rentals. And so any additional information, I would encourage that you ask the applicant.
Yeah, and I see that we have the attorney representing the applicant in the audience.
Yes.
So should I bring her up?
I'm done with the report almost. Just it's probably a good idea to offer up a recommendation, which is recommending the approval of the rezoning amendment to rezone 0.1 plus minus acre of land located at 14 South Halifax Avenue to redevelopment Beachside Gateway Residential Mixed Use RDB 3. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Planning Board on October 28th, 2021. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the City Commission for first reading on December 1, 2021, and for second reading on December 15, 2021. It says 2020 there, that's a typo. And that December 15th, 2021 would be a public hearing. Majority vote of the redevelopment board members present and voting is required to recommend approval to the City Commission.
Okay.
Okay.
I still can't find the Godco letter.
I just handed it to you. It says.
Well, I know you handed it to me, but it would have been nice if I had had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
It might be in here in the front. It might have been put in the, it's not in the back.
Okay.
It's in the back of the whole packet, right behind the maps, and I'll just give this to you.
No, I gave him a copy. I already have it.
Okay.
After the maps.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Jessica Gal with Cobb Cole Law Firm, 149 South Ridgewood Avenue for the record. We're here tonight to discuss a rezoning request. I think Reed did a fantastic job of hitting the high point, so I just wanted to give a little bit of background of how we got here. So Ms. Rocco is here, the property owner. It's by Morgan & Parker and LLC. She's the principal member of that LLC, so if you have questions for ownership, she's here. We got involved in this case early on. Ms. Rocco came to us and asked, there was a code enforcement action against the site where the city said you're doing short-term rentals where they're not permitted. And Ms. Rocco said, I thought they were permitted under the RDB 3. And so we took a look at it and we said, well, this is an interesting situation because you have split zoning on the property, which you guys are familiar with the rezoning request. This doesn't really pop up a lot. There's kind of a city policy where we tried to avoid it because it is confusing when it happens. And so about a little under a third of the property, the driveway and the garage is zoned for short-term rentals, and the rest of the house is in a zoning district where it's not permitted. So when Ms. Rocker received notice of the code enforcement action, she froze her Airbnb account. But because it was still shown on the website, that's what the city is using to determine if it's being held out for short-term rentals. And so there was still a violation there in the city's eyes, and they assessed a lien of $15,000. A secondary website associated with TripAdvisor popped up later, and she was cited again. So if you see 2 citations in the record, it was a UK-hosted website called Holiday Lettings, where it popped up for a day and then disappeared. And so she was fined another $15,000, which was then reduced to $1,000 by the special magistrate, based on the facts of the case.
Oh, that's great.
After the first violation, we went to the city to see what was going on here. When we took a look, we thought that perhaps the GIS map was just off for the property to explain the split zoning. Planning took a look and said, it's weird, but we've looked back as far as we can in our records, and it looks like it's always been split zoned, and they're not sure why that happened. And so then we initiated this rezoning request. We could not move forward with the rezoning request while there was the lien on the property from the code enforcement action. And so that was closed out, and now we're moving forward here. I did want to touch on, I know Member Libby brought up a concern over spot zoning. I have a concern over split zoning, and just because it works in a very interesting way. So depending on the local government or municipality, they treat these things differently. So in the county, they have a rule where they say, you're allowed to do the use in that portion. Unless that portion is so small, then you can apply to have the uses apply overall. The Daytona Code doesn't really have a provision on split zoning because it doesn't happen a lot. And so what we discussed with the city is technically, if you could meet the requirements on 1/3 of your house for short term, you could do it on that side and you could not do it on the other. The problem is there's a house there, and you can't. Even right now, I think there's an argument that the house might not meet the required setbacks for the zoning districts because the zoning district runs through the middle. And so it's confusing for the property owner to know what she can do and what she can't do. It's confusing if she were to ever try to market the property in the future. And she would like to use the property for short-term rentals. Like we noted, the northern property did use it for that use. This property was used for that until they were noted that they could not. In order to do that, if the rezoning were approved, it would have to go through the city review process to get a change in use permit, because right now it has a long-term tenant in it, to allow the other accommodations use, which the city sees as a type of commercial use, although no changes in the structure would be required. There's some increased landscaping that's required, and they have to do a parking review. So that would be the next steps if this rezoning were to be approved to allow for short-term rental there. So I just wanted to give you a little background on the site and how we got here, and then answer any questions you all have.
Why short-term rental and not long-term rental?
Okay.
Interesting question. It is to the north. It is an area that is very close to Main Street and a lot of commercial activity. I think
Even though there's property closer to Main Street that does not allow short-term rental.
every property closer to Main Street to this property allows short-term
Everyone?
rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
all
both
of the
sides
purple.
of the street?
No, that's not closer on the south side.
I'd say closer to Main Street. Everything north of this property.
Oh.
Yeah.
On both sides of the street?
No.
On both sides of
not-
Halifax Avenue, if that's the street you mean. Yes. Anything shown on purple on the screen here allows short-term
He's saying
rental.
that directly across from the purple, you'll see orange, so that would be,
The orange is the RP, which is
Yeah.
not permitted.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. I'd say I think market-wise, the property owner found it difficult to find long-term tenants. Short-term rentals seem like a great idea. And I think the city has found that it's an okay use overall in appropriate locations. What's interesting here is that for rezoning, there are very certain strict standards that an applicant is supposed to meet that the city reviews to see if it complies with those standards.
Yeah.
Here, on a third of the property, the city already found that it complies with all those and that it's appropriate here because it already has that zoning. And so what you see in the staff report is no surprise that staff found that the other portion of the property also meets those requirements.
So the other portion is 2/3?
I'm just eyeballing it. I don't
Well,
have.
you said
like, measurements.
1/3 met the requirements, so 2/3 didn't.
Right, just a rough, the purple line looks about 1/3 versus 2/3. Yep.
okay, all right, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I have a
with
couple
us?
questions.
Well, let's go to the audience. Oh, well, no, you might have, I'm sorry, have a question for the applicant. Okay, go
They're
ahead.
short and quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Dina. So how much do they end up paying in code violations?
$16,000.
How much did they pay for what?
The liens on the property, the code enforcement lien.
Wow.
Yes.
And those
Did
have
they
been
pay it, or was it
They paid it. yes.
forgiven? They
Nope.
paid it?
There were two, like I said, two instances. One was $15,000. That was paid in full. The second was assessed for $15,000, and the magistrate moved that down to $1,000 because of the confusion over the zoning and the fact that it was just an advertisement. So total, it was $16,000 paid.
I believe the city has a rental program. Was this property in the rental program?
It had a long-term rental license, and it had a BTR for licenses.
So it had a retail
Yes,
rental tax receipt
yes,
prior to the code violations?
yes. Right.
And just to confirm, it was using sites that remit to Volusia County, the state and county sales and use taxes, correct?
Yes.
Now, what about the house, not that this is relevant, but the house south of you, is that short-term rental or?
I know the owners, it is.
No.
South of it, it is.
Okay, well, that's not a.
Or sorry, I'm sorry, north of it. Sorry, north of it. Sorry.
No,
sorry, north
okay,
of it.
okay,
Sorry.
but south of,
South
you
of
said,
it is-
Sorry,
you said it
sorry,
had
north of it.
four.
Yeah, sorry, north of it. Yes, so if it's the house I believe I'm thinking of, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I could totally be wrong, but when we were doing the mayor's walk around the city, that house was in the zone that I was to knock on the doors for, and it was 4 separate doors. It was 2 doors like this at the front section, and then 2 doors in the back section, and they were numbered 1 through 4. So that would have, I don't number the doors at my house 1 through 4.
One resident,
Now-
man who owns the house, who is your neighbor. I think you know him. He's a blind gentleman. Yes, Michael.
Yeah, and maybe they're numbered for him to see, to feel them.
Ma'am, we need you to come to the microphone.
And then you'll have to fill out a form after, but that's okay. We'll get it. We'll make sure their paperwork is done.
Yeah, his name's Mike.
Okay, well, first start off with your name.
Your name.
Oh, just sorry.
What is it?
Jane Rocco. Address 712 Mountain Ash Way, Deltona, Florida.
Okay. All right.
So there are 4
There are-
units. I'm not crazy
I know
on
there's
that.
2. I'm not sure if there's 4. I knew there were 2.
Okay.
And he called me when he got the notice for the zoning, and he's fine with it. He has no problems with it.
Okay.
But
All right, thank you very much.
you're suggesting to us that he is renting short-term in
No,
a...
no, he rents long-term, but he
Oh.
does have 2 to 4 units. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure how many there
All right,
are.
well, that's fine. He can have 4 units, as many as we could have 8 units if he's got the square footage. It's whether it's short-term or long-term is the
No.
question.
Yeah.
So his property and the adjacent property were both originally long-term.
The adjacent?
I
Okay.
think which adjacent? To the north is a short-term rental.
The applicant's property was
Yes.
long-term.
Yes, she has a long-term tenant in there now because short-term rentals are a violation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was originally long-term before she went to illegal short-term and was cited for $15 and then $1,000. Is that correct?
It was long-term. It was
Yeah,
built
it
as
was
a single-family
long-term.
home. Yes.
Is this what you would call a, what do we call it in the land development code? I think it's a site-specific zoning,
Like a spot zoning?
not spot zoning. Site, we don't have spot zoning in the land development code, but we have site-specific. in
It
the
is a
land development.
site-specific zoning application because it only affects one parcel of property.
That's correct,
Yeah.
yeah. My hesitation is a bigger picture. Let me just share with you that City of Daytona Beach has 45% of home ownership, 30% less than the national average, and we have the smallest percentage of home ownership of any city in Central Florida. And anything we do to incentivize the profit motive that can take a single-family home and convert it into short-term rental has been called by our former mayor a blight on this community because we need home ownership. So I am philosophically have a challenge with this because I know it's the profit incentive. I know that money is the reason for the change, and I don't hold that against the applicant at all. But this is a tough one because of the location, because it's 60% is no short-term, and you want the 40% to drive the 60% out of existence, and all of it becomes short-term, which is probably a reason that I'm not really extremely positive for this zoning change, where others I have, because they really didn't affect the bottom line for our city. I think 3 people in a neighborhood of about 275 suggests a real challenge for me on calling that a neighborhood meeting. It was, if 3 people
So to provide background on that, generally we say happy people don't show up to discuss, but that's not always the case. What we do is provide notice to everyone within 300 feet of the property and invite them to discuss. We did receive emails beforehand that were included in the packet to the city. I don't see them in here.
No, they're not in here.
Right. And they had questions on, is the structure going to be changed to commercial? Are you building a multifamily unit?
Parking was a big issue,
I would say parking was a question.
a
So
huge issue. Yeah, do you have sufficient parking?
We do. So it's only one dwelling unit. So the city's code requires 2 spaces per dwelling unit, and there are 2 spaces in the driveway and garage.
Okay, and there'll be nobody else living in this short-term unit other than the people who are renting it?
The city does not regulate that.
Well, I mean, I know the city doesn't regulate it, but I'm asking you the question. How is this house going to be divided?
When it was being rented for an Airbnb, I believe it was the entire premises. You can pick, on Airbnb or VRBO, if you want a room or you want the whole house.
So
it was the whole house.
So the owner will not be living on the premises
No.
with a short-term rental capability?
No.
Because we have the city, we have some issues going through city right now in certain neighborhoods of the city that will allow that are interested in making sure that people who have a home that might be too big for them can modify it in such a way that would allow them to do rental.
For ADUs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm very concerned with what's happened to the city of Daytona Beach when it comes to single-family home ownership. We are just cannibalized. If you go west of our city, and I'll just take a couple more minutes, west of our city, all you see are apartment blocks like you see in downtown Bucharest, Romania. It looks like the communist takeover of Romania. But we don't have a whole lot of new single-family homes, and we make it very tough for modest people to own homes in this city, and that has to change, or we're going to value ourselves out of existence here. And this is a minor example, but it is necessarily an example because it's going to change the boundaries now of short-term rental. And right, yes, I'm thank you for nodding. It will. It changes the whole relationship on Halifax there. And when someone asked you, are there additional properties on the south side of this property that are currently short-term, your answer was no. Well, just wait a while, and they'll be back here, and they'll be looking for zoning changes to do exactly what this applicant did. And to me, that's not progress. Pardon me, forgive me.
I have a question. So did you say the other section was RP, residential
Yes,
professional?
yes.
So it could be an office building?
It could be a doctor's office, a medical building. It could be.
So leaving it
anything
as
like
is does not make it a residential property
Correct.
necessarily?
It has a current residential home on it.
It makes it short-term rentals. Is what it
No,
makes.
I'm just trying to determine if the issue is just anti-short-term rental or, like, because you argued that you wanted more residential homes, but that doesn't guarantee it's a residential home.
Well, it was a residential home, and it currently is a residential home.
It houses a single-family home, correct?
Yeah.
And I just want to say, we're focusing on the short-term rental use, which is absolutely fine because we put it in our application. That's what we intend to do. We want to be transparent. The city attorney is not here, but this is a rezoning request that has very specific standards that don't necessarily apply to just one singular use because this rezoning category allows for a multitude of uses just like RP does.
Section
And so-
11.5.
For the review
of
standard.
the Land Development Code has a long laundry list of requirements. And I'm sure other boards are going to be looking to make sure that Cobb Cole has checked off all that long laundry list of requirements. Yeah,
For a rezoning request.
for rezoning. Yeah, rezoning is a police action. You know that. You're an land use attorney. I mean, it's a
Correct.
serious thing, very serious thing, because it can change the
Okay,
entire.
Is there any other questions? You're lecturing.
Yeah.
Is there
No.
a question?
Yeah.
Is there a question for
I'm
the applicant?
justifying, please don't tell me what I'm doing,
But
Mr.
you are.
Chairman. I am justifying my questions in this area, and I think the attorney appreciates that. My questions don't scare you.
They don't.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions for the
So you had one
applicant?
question.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no more. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Now, does the board have any discussion?
Don't preach.
We also need to
I just
see if
say
there's any public input to this, any citizen comments to this project.
Okay, well, normally I get a slip, but would anybody else like to speak on this issue? Okay, no, seeing none. Okay, I close the public participation. Krista, Teresa, any comments?
I obviously feel differently than Mr. Libby. I think it's unfair to the applicant that their property's zoned, whether it's a third, half, an eighth, whatever it is. You've got a property that clearly is partially zoned for that. So even if she didn't do this, she could put a tiny house there and do the same thing. I don't know why we would hinder that. I also think it's in an area that you're going to be really hard pressed to draw families to with young children. I think you tend to go with highest and best use on land, and this would be the highest and best use for this house. It's not an area that's growing with more families moving in, and that's because there's not a tremendous amount of jobs that are high paying enough. We're a tourist-based area here. So I think it's crazy to not allow it, is my opinion on it.
All right, and Teresa, you don't have a comment. Robert, do you have any comments?
No, I have no comment.
And do you have any additional comments?
I doubt it's its highest and best use. It's been proven nationally that single-family homes are the highest and best use in the real estate market, and they've driven up values in the city more than any other parcels of property.
I think.
But I appreciate the application. This is a rare case. If this case were a little more clear-cut, I think I would dig in, but I have to respect the application is a proper one, and it does argue its case. They did do a community meeting. Three people is a slim.
But they can't control that.
Yeah,
and all you can, it's like every community meeting.
Well, of course they can. It's a matter of whether or
they
not
did
you
their
want.
obligation by
Pardon me,
notifying
Mr. Chairman, I've
200
got the floor.
Yeah, but you cut it into everybody else.
I've got the floor, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be happy to give it to you, and you may make a comment or preach if you care to.
Okay.
This is a tough one, I grant you, and there are a lot of reasons to do it. We've just done this all over the city, and if you look all over the city, it has not improved neighborhoods. It's the beginning of a decline in many neighborhoods. I'll leave it at that.
The short-term rentals have been significantly reduced in the city, not expanded. There are a very small amount of zones. On the Beachside, 28 single-family homes, I believe. There's condos, sure, but the other zones that are allowable for short-term rental are actually back here in areas that would not typically be used for short-term rental. And the type of short-term rental use there, I would agree, is not the best use. But bringing in families that are going to rent a home to enjoy our city, I think, is a fantastic use.
Yeah. Well, we can't determine who's going to rent the property, but there are a lot of single people living on the beachside in their own homes.
Right, but you want to determine if it's short-term or long-term, so we kind of can determine that part of it.
Anytime you introduce a lot of coming and going in a residential neighborhood.
Do you think that's a residential neighborhood, seriously?
Oh, I went out there and drove around in the neighborhood. I went this afternoon and drove in some of the side streets there, and there is a predominance of full-time residents living in that area
when I
within a
walked
200-yard.
When I walked that neighborhood, it was to find out if people were for or against short-term rental because they weren't coming to the meetings. And every single house that I got in that area, and we had to fill out this form with it, was a positive in support of it.
Well, they should have come to the community meeting.
May I just suggest let Gary finish, and then if you want to comment later, I'll recognize you. I mean, you can debate this back and forth, but it's just going to...
No, you're fine.
No, it's not a debate, and I appreciate your position, but I feel obliged to ask questions. I don't think the attorney minded. She had very good answers for all of my questions. It's just a phenomenon here. We do a wonderful job of progressive things in the city. We don't do a very good job of cleaning up mistakes that we've made in the past. And short-term rentals, I think, and other things are some of those problems we as yet
We can
dealt
just
with.
agree to disagree and move on.
Yeah.
All right, are you?
Second.
Are you? Thank you. All right, well, and what I will say is that if this was north of Main Street, I would definitely have a problem with it because of the caliber of the homes that are north of Main Street. And I do know a lot of single-family residents who live there that, I would not want short-term rentals right next to them. But looking at the neighborhood and the fact that you have a spot zoning, you have a split zoning, we have to correct that. We either have to go all one way or all the other because there's inconsistencies with whatever you are to do in the future if you were to want to develop the property as something else. So my position is to be in favor of this, but I will now call for a roll call vote.
Do we have a motion?
Oh,
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, motion for approval?
Motion for approval.
Okay, second? Is there a
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, can I call for a roll call vote? I guess Krista?
In favor.
Okay. Teresa?
In favor?
Okay. Robert?
In favor.
Okay. Gary?
Against.
Okay, and I'm in favor, so you won. All right. Thank you very much. All right, now we're still on new business. Is there any other new business that's to come before the board?
I guess the only element of new business, Reed, is a city attorney, the head city attorney's opinion on this board's consideration of elements in both the Main Street, the South Atlantic, and the E-zone plans. And I thought my request was to get a memo from the city attorney on that. And he did share with our attorney and me on a telephone call that our access to those plans was a matter of someone making a motion, the motion getting a second, and it passing with a simple majority. And rather than start that read, I think I would defer to at least a meeting to find out if, in fact, that is the path, the appropriate path, knowing that it has a long way to go before it would get to the Community Redevelopment Agency, the City Commission acting as the Community Redevelopment Agency. But I'd like it under discussion. We're already involved in Peabody up to our eyebrows, and that's a major, that has its own paragraph in 2 of the 3 plans. So do you think we'll get anything written, or should we just, based on our understanding, and I think our attorney...
I'm not sure that I follow what you're asking for as far as being in writing. The redevelopment plans are available online. Any person, citizen, non-citizen, can go to our online and pull down the development plans. And then as far as if you want to bring up a specific matter to discuss, you are able to bring that up as a topic during a meeting. And if other board members are in support of the topic
Okay.
and want to pursue it, then you make a motion to,
Yeah.
do whatever the item
That's
is.
what Mr. Jaeger suggested we do. And I just want to make sure that's cool with Reed, that kind of thing is, because it wasn't
But
2 meetings ago.
But again, if there isn't the support of all the other board members through, the motion,
Just a majority.
the majority, if you don't have the support of the majority of the board members, then for following through or continuing on a discussion, then it won't, that's it. That does not prevent you from, as an individual, from going to
Yes,
specific individual commissioners or
thank you.
commission as a whole.
yes. Yeah, I think everything we do has to have a majority, a simple majority. Thank you.
But will we have to vote? We could ask to have a staff report on the issue.
Correct, yes, you could ask for, it's,
Okay, 'cause I wouldn't be comfortable on just random items, without.
Well, they're not random. They're in the...
Take an as example, I'm going to pull off something like that's not necessarily in the plan, but let's say the question is the need for parks for children. And so you may ask, somebody may make a motion to ask the staff to document the number of children's parks in the redevelopment area and any proposed parks coming online. Motion is made, members vote. If it's the majority in favor, he'll go back, he'll do can do a staff report or go to his boss and say, do we want to expend the resources to do the staff report? And then if the less than the majority does not support that motion, then
Right.
nothing would be done.
Yeah.
Now, again, part of the difficulty for staff is they report to the department head, they report to the deputy city manager, they report to the city manager.
Well-
And so they direct oftentimes how resources are going to be allocated. So even though the motion is made and requested, depending on how the resources are allocated, it may not happen. Which case you would then need to go directly to maybe the city commission and ask them to give you more responsibility and have staff do more work, or, do the staff reports like you're looking for.
Okay.
So if I may, just add just one item is that right now, redevelopment reports directly to the city manager. I report directly to the city manager. There's that's a change in just the organizational structure. So I will, if there's requests from this board that are outside of what is normally the duties that you have that are laid out in the land development code, I'll go to the city manager to see if that's something we should spend our resources on.
Is that the process you're using with Midtown?
Yes.
Okay, so their projects go to the city manager for review or for authorization? I mean, for his knowledge or for a vote yes or no before it goes to the...
It's a question for how we're going to have the time to spend on anything that's beyond what's in the land development code, what we should be doing versus what's being asked by this board. So, this starts to become a policy matter in terms of how much time we spend in the administration for this.
Are you at liberty to share with this board the amendments that have been made to the Midtown policies?
Not aware of any amendments to any policies.
Okay, the chairman can access the agenda. The chairman of the board of Midtown has agenda access. We don't have agenda access. Isn't that a change?
No, when you say the chair doesn't, the chair does have access to an agenda. Are you saying that we don't have? Everybody has the agenda. The staff prepares it. In the case of Midtown, the chair has asked to and has changed the agenda from what staff provides.
Okay.
And that does happen.
Okay. So Mr. Paspalakis could actually contact you and have an agenda item put on our agenda.
He could do that if it's in accordance with our bylaws. The one change that was made and amended was the bylaws for the Midtown.
Well, that's just what I asked 5 minutes ago.
Well, again, I'm going by the policy, not the bylaws. But some time ago, the bylaws were changed.
Okay, so the bylaws are subject to change.
Always.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any more new discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to other business. Part A, redevelopment project update. Reed.
Okay. I don't know if I've introduced or not introduced before our project manager for Midtown, who is here, but she is given me a lot more time to devote to other things within the redevelopment area. Michelle Tolliver. Michelle, do you mind coming up and just introducing yourself? Because I haven't done this, right? No one's had this introduction.
I didn't know.
Not yet.
We've been hiding her for now, but she has been active with the Midtown Redevelopment Board now.
Good evening, Board. I'm Michelle Tolliver. I'm the Redevelopment Manager for Midtown. I am a native of Daytona Beach. I am a product of Volusia County Schools. And I am so happy to serve my residents, and I call them my residents. I was born in Halifax Hospital, 1966. Any questions for me?
You're doing a great job
Thank
at
you.
Midtown.
She really.
I was born there 2 years before you.
Are you guys have any updates with anything going on as far as arts stuff in Midtown? Murals or anything?
We have one mural that was approved a couple months ago. It has not gone up on the wall yet. The artist is excited, but the business owner, fortunately and unfortunately, is struggling to fund the project. So we're trying to make it happen, but redevelopment doesn't have that type of funds, but she's working on it. She's excited about it, and of course the artist can't wait, and I'm sure the rest of the city can't wait. But from what I hear, I haven't verified it with her, but from what I hear, it was supposed to have already happened during homecoming for Bethune-Cookman. She was hoping to have it on the wall, but hasn't happened yet.
Reed, can they not apply for like facade grants on that, or would that not fall under there to help the
By
business owner?
policy, it hasn't to date fallen under there. The intent going forward is to find some way to change that and cure that decision. And there's some changes already in our grant programs for Midtown. I think we'll continue to look at doing some reforming of those programs so that we're committed to moving forward art districts, including that area,
Yep.
including Main Street. So that's also part of what the staff is doing and what the city manager and the mayor are asking that this happens and that we continue to proceed with that. You'll even find art districts are in the land development code right now. So
Awesome.
there is a placeholder for that. So it's time to move it forward, accelerate Daytona Beach, and this is one of the things that we think will really help.
If I can be of any help in that with coordinating Midtown and Main Street, because I'm working behind the scenes on the Main Street stuff for it as
Okay.
well. So I think if we all work together, it'd be really nice for the whole city. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks.
great job.
If, in fact, your board can find private dollars that are not directly connected to redevelopment funds, then the city is eligible to apply for grants from Volusia County for murals, for a major arts district.
Sure.
And I don't know if you're working on that yet or
Not yet.
exploring it? Okay.
Nope.
If anything,
This
I can
city
do that.
manager has us very busy as staff members
Yeah.
creating a cooperative environment because, believe it or not, a lot of residents don't trust government.
No.
And we're slowly trying, and honestly, there is a lot of work changing perception.
Yeah.
I'm not one to try to bicker and argue over trust. Trust is something you earn, and it doesn't happen overnight. But I bring that up because there is a lot of work to do from the resident side as well as the staff side, because we have an environment that is unique. I was born in 1966, and I say that on purpose. I've seen a lot in my 55 years of living.
Yeah.
This is a very unique situation for everybody, including visitors. But there's a lot of work we're doing. My eyes are sore because even when I sleep, and this is not, I wish I didn't have to speak into this, but even when I sleep, I think of things that I can do to improve my neighborhood.
Many of us do. What's the cost of the mural in question?
I believe it's around $15,000.
Okay.
Yeah, she started out with a $1,000 vision when she first talked about the mural. And the mural just evolved. It evolved to what it is today. But I'm sure she's working hard to get it funded, and she's anxious, as well as the artist, to get it up on the wall.
And where in Midtown will it be?
She is specifically at 536 MMB.
Okay.
It's right on the corner of, I can't think of the cross street, Reed.
Oh, yeah.
But it's right on the corner. I have a sister who lives on that street. I should know her address.
not Walnut. What is it? Is it
It
Walnut?
goes
You know a
north
lot of
and
addresses,
south.
yeah.
It's
It
a
goes-
corner lot. We got it.
But it's right on a corner lot. And she's trying to open her cafe as well. It's Midtown Cafe. But I can't think of that cross street.
I'll get it for you here. Because it's,
Last comment, I can't help but think that if you could get some public relations on this mural project, that
Yeah.
you could raise the $15,000 with one small article in the
Yes.
News Journal
Yes.
or the West Side newspaper.
I have a question based on that. Hasn't the mayor proposed funds for murals? Hasn't the mayor proposed funds for upcoming murals?
The Coronavirus Recovery Funds has proposed organizing a public board.
So we need
Those
the board
funds.
before
Yeah,
we
the
can approve
board
the
is
funds.
basically, to facilitate it. But
Yeah.
hers is like the chicken before the egg before the
Yes.
chicken.
I thought it may be that case. Yeah.
Yeah.
and also there is the issue of whether or not it can be used for private property as opposed to public.
Correct.
Are you trying to look for Pearl Street?
Say it again?
Pearl?
Nope. That's
No,
not
it's
it.
Walnut.
That's it. Her address is 356 Walnut.
356, okay.
That's it. It's right at the corner of Walnut and MMB, 536 MMB.
And,
I would
and-
love to see Midtown do a great mural to start people thinking about decoration, public art like that all over the city, because there are many places that are appropriate for it. There are many places that aren't, but there are many places that are.
and
I
so
agree with you.
I'd like to just advertise for 1 second that she also has a new cafe. She's taken a completely, not only vacant, but a destroyed building and put it all back together from nothing to where it now has all of the equipment in a cafe. We've tried to help a little bit with
Yes,
our grants,
yes.
and Michelle's been helping with that to help them be successful. And the way to get successful now that they are open is to go down there and actually check it out.
Have lunch.
And I think, and she's right now, she's kind of concentrating on breakfast. She said maybe show up around 9 o'clock. So you're going to have one of those later breakfasts to get there as they're just starting to open and get into the swing of things. So it's a time when you should just check it out and see what they're doing.
Today, I was talking to the director of the Southeast Museum of Photography about Gordon Parks and his great photo essay, Midtown,
Yes.
done here in the 30s and 40s
Yes. I've seen
with
it.
Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think people realize what an active, thriving business community there was on the West Side during this time. But it's great to see it coming back.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any more?
Yes,
regional-
and just related to that, and I know Michelle will be involved with this as well, is in the, starting with the Midtown area, we'll be having some walking tours. This is the city manager and the staff going out, and this is to really try to gather information from businesses and residents in the area by being out there and also getting comments that staff is hearing and also providing suggestions as well while they're there. So, we're going to be down to what the heck is that curb there missing for? Okay?
Why is it missing? Yeah.
Why is it missing? What's going on? So there's some accountability there as we walk around as well, and a learning process and a sharing process for the people that are going to be in these areas. Main Street in downtown will have a walking tour, and that will be coming up here November 10th. So thank you. These
Tell us about this walking tour. I mean, who is going to be the tour operators, and is it open to the general public? Is it a city commission and staff phenomenon? Tell me a little bit about
let me give you something it's not. It can't be for those who are serving on boards that are under the Sunshine Law to be coming to these walks. And so the intent is
So
to,
it's not an advertised Walk?
It cannot, because of the nature of what the walk is, we cannot have the different elected officials or the advisory boards or anyone that falls under the sunshine laws. I'm looking at the attorney over here. I want to make sure she's in agreement. So that's one thing we want to make it real clear. As much as we'd love to have you along, that's something we can't do at this point. Now,
Unless you appoint one person from the Main Street Board to do that walk.
no,
Can't
can't even do that.
You can't?
No.
Oh, wow.
So we hashed this
I
out.
thought sunshine law meant, two people from the same board.
Nope. It's
I-
transferred.
It is two people of the same board, but then you become a person representing the board, which creates a different kind of sunshine issue. It's a complicated one. It's been litigated. There was a case out of Seminole County with the school board where the school board members were on a bus, and I believe they invited the press to come on the bus, but because it wasn't able to have the general public there, it wasn't, it was considered, and they did do a cure of the sunshine. They did a later meeting. It was a cure, but it was still considered a sunshine violation. Likewise, it seems to be school boards run into this because of the way schools act and do things. They were doing charrettes, and the idea that if I'm over in this charrette learning about, it was rezoning of attendance for schools, that if I'm over here for the elementary school, I'm missing what's over here being said for the middle school, I'm missing what's being said for the high school. So the idea of public participation gets diluted. And I think that's that same concept with the walking tour, is that the public's ability to necessarily participate gets diluted because you're walking along. Conversations can be made, and not everybody is able to hear what is being said.
And policy can be
All right.
established too.
Okay, is there any other redevelopment project update?
I'm sorry?
Is there any other item for redevelopment project update?
Yes.
There was a question.
Well, we have public comment coming up.
What I want to do is also kind of tack on to that, because we're talking about sunshine law and other legal matters. Those will be brought to you again at the next meeting. We're going to have that opportunity to have the attorney's office give you a presentation.
That's the plan for our next meeting.
That is the plan, and we're hoping to see that happen in the month of November, and so that'll be coming forward, and that'll be for all the boards, and so whether it's ethics, sunshine, that is something I know we did this all in orientations individually, but this is going to be really an ability for you all to be in the same place, same time, and get this information.
Because the laws are evolving. I mean, sunshine is not a static thing. We had the First Amendment group from Tallahassee down here every year for years. And we did, Barbara, I can't think of her last name, we did a major luncheon out at one of the country clubs, and we were all there for an update on sunshine.
So may I just say that we will come back to the boards as well when this walking tour is
And you'll
completed,
report to
and
us.
provide information to you from that tour. So you'll have that opportunity to get additional information because you're vital to what we're trying to do and accomplish and understand.
What about the second hotel for the Russian hotel? What's the status?
Condo. It's a condo.
Okay, the condo. What's the status of
It's fully operational.
No, the second.
One that's not
But the
built.
condos is at the point where they're getting ready to start again. They have the, if you want to see the condo units themselves, they have them now in the hotel. They have one that they're showing, and they're making sales on, I think the penthouse and the floor below it are already
Yeah, sold.
sold, yeah. So it's something to really check. If you have not gone out there, you're the public. You're welcome to go in and see that place or take a staycation. It really is amazing. This board was a part of the approval of that project. So I'd go out there and check it out.
All right. Okay,
That's not my report.
now item B is public comments. You don't need to just speak. Just introduce yourself. And
Helen Humphreys. Pray for me because it starts tomorrow. It's going to be great fun. They are here.
pray for good weather.
Since I'm one of the boards, am I allowed to go on that tour? But actually, I came up to say I love my city. I would never, ever sue my city. But if you're going to have a walking tour, the area that I have pointed out, cracked, it's the sidewalk is in terrible shape, so terrible that at night, me carrying out some stuff, I got my foot caught in it, and I ended up in the street, South Hollywood, on my back. It hurt, but anyway, hopefully.
You were on the board, but you're allowed to be part of that walking tour, and I encourage it.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
No.
That's
A
not,
past
See,
board
that's
member?
what as a board member of the planning
you're
board.
on other boards.
So I have to stay inside my store during that time. Yes. I just want to commend you. You all do a great job.
But you could,
And you look awesome.
we can come see Helen in her
Helen,
store.
Helen, you could, though, make a suggestion to Reed or email Reed. Okay, all right, no problem.
Several other city people.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Reed, would you like somebody at the, at Pinewood, if we're going to go through Pinewood?
Yeah, and again, this is like from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock right now, I think is the schedule, right? So, hopefully there'll be some additional information. We'll have more detail. We might get an idea of where it begins and ends so that somebody's not out there waiting in the cemetery forever. I mean,
Well, they're there forever.
good point.
Yeah,
But I think it behooves anybody that's able to go on a tour or to reach out while staff and the city manager's out there to go ahead and
Could I amplify Helen's comment? Because
I want to add something to it since you mentioned the graveyard. Right in front of it, and I've pointed it to you, when they put the sidewalk in the middle of the sidewalk, and I have personally seen a man who walks with a seeing eye dog trip there, they put a bumper right where you walk the sidewalk. It is not in any of the other corners, and it is there, and it is covered with rubber because people that make the turn, it is right at the entrance to the cemetery.
Yeah, and we've reported that to the city, and they got the state involved in it, but nothing seems to have.
happened.
I think it might be slowly going through the process. But Helen, in support of your comments about the sidewalk,
Yeah.
an item for new business at our next meeting, I would like for us to consider doing something officially about the cleanliness and the condition of Main Street. I think we've got special events. I drove down Main Street, and I cannot tell you, I counted 65 motorcycles leaking oil onto the stamped pavement that it took us years to raise the money to the city to raise the money when we redid Main Street. And I don't know what kind of cleanup
Yeah.
that's
Are you
going to
talking
take,
about?
but I think maybe
It's not
a motion in the future that any event, special event on Main Street, budget a cleanup amount so that the street looks as good or better than it did before the event is there. I'm all for special events, believe me.
Sure.
But I think they need to, can't just leave and then have the property owners. Some are terrific. Some on this board are terrific at cleaning up their property. Others are not so good.
Yeah, well, we clean ours. And if the city cleans, they should do it after the event.
Correct.
2 times they have done that prior to the event, which made no sense at all.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. John? And by the way, John was in attendance to the meeting downstairs, the Bike Week meeting that I was in attendance to, but I had to leave at 6 o'clock to attend this meeting. So I
That we
missed.
heard applause.
So I missed. Yeah. So I missed half of it, I guess.
It went on another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
John Nicholson, Daytona Beachside. One, on the meeting downstairs, they're asking for a staff to go out and establish a standard, a minimal standard, because right now we have a very expensive standard for parking lots. They want to get a point where it's going to look nice, but it's not going to be prohibitive for someone to put all that money into a parking space and then have to dig it back up to build a building. So they want it to be relatively cheap, relatively good-looking.
Who's they?
The city staff, the mayor, city manager, et cetera, want to help clean up the parking spaces because there's a need for parking. Secondly, they want the code, because apparently Scott Lee said, we really don't have anybody with knowledge of the rules and regulations that pertain to CRA districts. We have rules and regulations for the city as a whole, but the CRAs have different rules. Like for windows, you have to cover them up if you're empty and that kind of stuff, and we don't enforce that at all. So the mayor wants that enforced, but he wants them to come up with a staff member that knows what they're doing and enforce it on all the CRAs. Third, sounded like almost probably maybe, Reed, you almost said kind of sort of that there was somebody as a possible maybe sort of project manager for Midtown? Maybe, sort of?
No.
Not
a
project
maybe,
manager?
sort of. There is a project manager for Midtown, and she's sitting behind you.
Our project manager is whom? It's only been what?
You mean the Beachside?
Beachside,
Okay.
CRA, yes. The one that we lost in 2008.
We'd love to see some additional staff for redevelopment like we used to have, but we do not have it at this time.
Okay, but considering the fact that we have not had one for 17 years or whatever, it would be a priority. And the Russian project, you ought to go. It does not look like Daytona Beach. It looks like Miami Beach. It looks like Orlando.
Like new Daytona Beach.
Yeah, well, it's coming. The Marriott Regency is right around the corner. The Plaza will do what it needs to do, and hopefully the Hilton will come up to the standards to match the other four. So, knock on wood. And I'm sorry that you guys can't go. And this is the walk is for Main Street. It is for the CRA area. And you guys who are the prime board for the Main Street CRA are not entitled to go, which does not make any, I understand what you're talking about, but it does not logically make any sense that you all can't go, because in the past they went, but they just couldn't talk to each other.
Well, I think that's still the law, but to play it super safe when the chamber organized bus trips to adjacent cities like Vero to see how they ran their city, and they had elected officials, members of advisory boards on the bus,
Delray,
the press. It
Fort
was
Lauderdale.
a nightmare because everybody was talking about city business.
Right.
And that was a major violation. And I think the city is working with a great degree of care now not to see anything like that happen again.
I mean, like when
You would think with the popularity of Zoom, you could come up with something that invites the public.
No, you can't. You're violating, if you watch what's going on, participate on Zoom.
Well, the problem with Zoom is that per the way the Sunshine and Open Meetings law is, you actually have to have a quorum of the members present in the physical location. So it's difficult.
It's a good idea not to do it.
What if the walk is
Anyway,
in
that
the building where
interrupted
we
you,
work?
John.
one more thing.
That's what, if the people, as walk comes in, they can talk to you as a business owner, even as a board
Okay, so
member.
I'm allowed to be in my building.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. And it's just that you
Okay.
cannot go with, and I'm not even sure how this walking tour is going to, and I don't know.
Can't participate in your building either.
She said I can be in my building.
Yes, she can, because
Yes, she
she
can.
is acting as the business owner. It's not going as part of the group that's seeking the information.
Oh, from place to place to place.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're going to start on, apparently, the bridge, is what he said tonight. They're going to start on the bridge and walk to Breakers Park.
Okay, John.
All right. Lastly, Gary, I think you may have been on the board. No. Frank Heckman turned to Virginia and said, Virginia, you know how to vote. We talked about it this morning at the Gateway. So To me, that was a violation of the sunshine.
Yeah, I would think so.
But the city lawyer said no, it was not.
Oh,
No, I do. Okay. All right. Any more for the public? There is nobody else. Okay. Board comments. Krista?
I'm good.
Teresa?
The city, I guess, and I'm sorry I wasn't familiar with it, but they've been doing a lot of work in the Main Street area, and I think it's on the gas lines.
Yes.
And I just want to thank the city for, I'm assuming it's an upgrade or a needed.
No, that would be a private, that's a private company that's installing the line.
Right, but
Permitted, they
I
would have,
suspect the city's paying for it, right?
no.
No?
No.
So that's federal or?
No, it's a private company that is placing it in, they may have permission to do it in the right-of-way, but that's the extent
But they
of,
make money off of it.
Well, who pays them?
People's Gas or Tico.
It's a stock company.
okay.
Let
Got
me
it.
just say there was a gas leak at some point here, and it was serious. And from that,
Is that what,
they had to come back and start to take care of the problem because it was old.
yeah. Well,
I think residents need to know that this entire city was piped for gas after its incorporation. That was the first, other than coal, that was the first means of heating a house was gas. Everybody had burners in their basements or in a back room that was gas fed. Coal first and then gas.
Okay. Teresa, you're done?
one more thing.
Okay.
And the city has been pressure cleaning the sidewalks around Main Street, and that also is appreciated.
Just don't forget the boardwalk. Okay. Which you have.
Or Breakers Park.
Robert?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Gary? Oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack.
You'll be home for dinner.
Okay, well, I'm
before
going to
you
hurry up
know
and say adjourn.
it. Call your wife.
I'm already adjourned. I'm sorry.
I sneaked in.
Everyone be careful out there.
All right. Take care.
Motorcycles.
You can visit.